that whole time.
So, okay, well then, let me get my timer set real quick.
Okay.
That'll take a second, that way I don't lose track of what I'm doing. Okay, so, to start, what you will do is you will turn off your hot valve on the side here. You'll take that valve and turn it crossways. That will turn off your water coming out of the water heater. Then you'll turn your temperature down to the lowest setting, which is 98 degrees. Leave the water heater on. Hook up your hoses so that you have one hose going from the pump up to the cold side, and one hose going from the hot side, just draining back down into the bucket. The submersible pump that we use, it's 1/6 horsepower. It runs about $80 at Lowe's. A bucket, and then 2 washing machine hoses. After you have got this set up in a configuration like that, you will open up your hot side. When you open your hot side of the bucket, or the hot side of the water heater coming out of the service valve, the unit will turn on. Make sure that you don't splash water everywhere. Make sure the hose is pointed down and everything. As it fills up, when it gets close to being at 4 gallons, you'll go ahead and hit the power button and turn off the water heater. After that, you can turn off the cold water inlet on the side before your bucket overflows. Once both those things are finished, it's safe to open the cold service valve off the front of the water heater. And once both the cold and hot service valves are open, in the open position, then you can plug in your pump over here on the side. So at this point, what it's going to do is it's going to move the mixture up through the water heater, over, and through the heat exchanger back and forth several times before it finally comes out the hot side and drains back in the bucket. Then it will recirculate, and it will do that process several times over. The amount of time that you need to do that for is 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, there are some other things that we'll do, but I will pick up on that in 45 minutes. So let's see. Let me check our time real quick and just make sure. Okay. So what you need to do then
is after the 45 minutes.
After 45 minutes have allotted, you want to balance out this T&P line.
And make sure I'm getting okay.
Just like that. And then turn off this hot valve.
Okay.
Now what's going to happen is the pump is going to continue to pump the solution into and through the unit, but instead of going back out into the bucket, it's going to exit via this pipe out of your house. So if you looked into the bucket, you can see that the bucket is getting empty.
Okay.
When the bucket gets to where it's just about empty, you don't want the pump to suck too much air. So when it gets down to where it starts gurgling, that's when I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the pump. At the same time, very quickly, I'm going to turn this off and that off. Okay, so after you've unplugged the pump, you'll want to turn off the T&P and then turn off the blue valve. The reason I do that quickly, I say, is because there is solution in here, and if you let a lot of that solution drain out, when you go to do the next part, you're going to get a lot more fluid than you would if it had more water in it.
Okay.
The more water it has in it, the more it's going to be able to hold a vacuum and not dump so much on you. Or at least that's the theory behind it. If it gets to where it's like halfway full of water, it's going to have more air pushing down on top of that water, and it's just going to push it out instead of holding it in there. So it's kind of like having your finger over the top of a straw. That's the way I explain it. So at this point, you can take both of your hoses loose. And it's always good to wear gloves when you're dealing with these. If you put these on with channel locks, these things are notorious for getting little brass splinters in your hands, and you'll have to dig them out, and they'll be real painful. So that's always good to do that. So you can take your hot side loose and put the cap on it, and then just do your best to get your hose rolled back up. Stick in the bucket. Cold side, you can do the same thing. Okay, so then replace your cap on your cold side. Next thing, you may have to take a pair of channel locks. Let's see. Nope, yours is loose enough, probably because you have a water softener. But take out this black knob here. It is threaded, so just turn it reverse threads, just the same way as you take anything out, and pull it out of there. Now, as you see what happened, the screen did not come out with this. So the screen and the gasket need to come out, and the best thing that I've found is a pair of channel locks. We'll pull both those out.
Okay.
You can also stick your finger in there. Once again, just make sure you don't cut yourself with the threads. Inspect the screen and make sure it's not dirty. There's really not very much in there. There's a little bit of flakes in there, but that's it. So that, you know, you can usually just get it loose. It has been flushed for 45 minutes, so whatever it is that's in there should come out fairly easy. So once that is empty, another one there. You want to make sure that you get your rubber piece on first, and then the screen will fit one side or the other. It fits on, and then it's just not even a quarter turn, like an eighth of a turn will lock it to where it's one piece again.
Okay.
Okay? Take that and poke it back in there. If you did that right, you won't get very much water on you. Okay. If you were a little slow doing that, it may spill some water, so it's always a good idea to have your bucket sitting underneath that area.
Okay.
Tighten this down hand tight. No reason to put pliers on that. You don't want to break it.
Okay.
So after you do that, you turn on your clean water coming in. That's your cold water. Turn it on, and then balance this T&P out again. Set your timer for 5 minutes. After you set the timer for 5 minutes, what's happening here is this is allowing clean water into the unit. It's rinsing any residual citric acid or vinegar out of the unit, and before it's able to go in your house, since this valve is turned off, it's being forced out through your relief line to the outside.
Okay.
That's just to rinse out any residual. You know, the citric acid is so diluted that it wouldn't really hurt you that much if it did get in your water supply. Same thing with the vinegar, it's not really going to hurt you that much. However, to make things taste a little funky, and if you were to leave it sitting in your pipes for a long period of time, it could eat them up.
Oh, okay.
So that's the main reason you want to rinse it out, because let's say I did this today and I didn't rinse it and I just left, and then y'all didn't ever turn on any hot water and y'all went out of town for a few days. All that stuff would be sitting in here eating up to tankless. So you always want to rinse it. But yeah, rinse it for 5 minutes, and after that we can reconvene.
Okay.
5-minute break. All you're going to do is turn off your T&P valve.
Let me see if we, okay.
By replacing it back down like that.
Okay.
And then you can go to your hot valve here and turn it on. Once that's done, turn on your power, turn your temperature up to the previous setting, which you had it set at 130 degrees. Then it's always a good idea to run the T&P once again. That's mainly just going to be to make sure that the unit does turn on and it does make hot water like it's supposed to. If you feel this pipe, you ought to be able to feel it heat up here in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
And it is. So it's on and running. The only other thing that I usually do before I go is when we go downstairs, if we just turn on a faucet and make sure that it does get hot water there, then we